The beauty of Opie and Anthony, we would come up with the craziest stuff, and women would come out of the woodwork to participate. So we did this thing called the homeless shopping spree. This is how popular the show was and how famous we were. And within 20 minutes, the mall was packed, not with a few dozen, hundreds of people, possibly close to 1,000 people.
I want to get to a point where I think about Opie and Anthony and kind of have a smile on my face and go back to thinking about what we accomplished with that show. But, you got an asshole that literally won't leave you alone and talks about you pretty much on a daily basis. It makes it really hard to think about the past fondly.
Because I don't know what the problem is. I come in and I'm funny. I'm like, yeah, but it's the Opie and Anthony show. There's so much other shit we have to do. In the end, Anthony blew up the Opie and Anthony show. It couldn't be more obvious. Maybe someday he'll take a little fucking responsibility. Oh, God, don't get me going. It seems like if you work for Anthony, you have to hate me. I'm like, why does it have to be that gaslighting bullshit? He should really not talk about, families. He is the fucking worst. JD Straight Shot. Jimmy took a sleep study last night. I doubt the doctors can fix his guilt and shame he feels daily. Oh, good old Jim Norton. Ugh. It was always fun when Jimmy was done wrong by somebody, some just little thing, that happens if you live a human life. And then he would wish horrendous things on this person's entire family. That was always fun. Yeah, that wasn't weird karma and weird energy. Jimmy, he just said no to a picture because he has somewhere to go. And then he would wish death and destruction on this person's entire family. I'm like, what am I doing? This is some dark arts right here. Oh, Jimmy resented Opie for being handsome. Well, what are you gonna do, man? Look at these baby blues.
Have you ever played the game Would You Rather?
I have.
Okay. So this first one is a two-parter.
Okay.
So please don't kick me off the stream until at least I ask the second part. Would you rather? So Opster, GH.
Yes.
Would you rather? And remember, this first one's a two-parter.
Okay.
Would you rather eat ice cream or podcast with Anthony Cumia?
Oh, God. Eat ice cream.
Hey, Ben said your family never gave you any attention or love. What is that based on? I thought you guys were all pretty close. He has literally no idea how I was brought up. He had no interest to ever get to know me outside the radio show. So you might even be saying this just to get me going, but I was absolutely loved. I didn't have a father that questioned my sexuality. Okay. I had a father that really, really loved me, and my mom really, really loved me. She had her issues, but she also raised us properly. I had a lot of, solid closeness with my brothers and my sisters and my cousins and my uncles and my aunts. I actually had a really good, solid upbringing with with a lot of turmoil in there with my mom, certainly. But he should really not talk about, families. Let's just put it that way. But I don't know, Aldo, I know you're one of these guys that kind of just fires out stuff to get me going too. So I don't even know if what you're saying is true, but I laugh. The guy chose not to know much about me. So he literally wouldn't know. He literally wouldn't know that. Just another thing to just try to knock me down.
Would you rather drink beer or podcast with Anthony Cumia?
Drink beer.
Okay, these are going to get a little more difficult now.
Anthony trying to, whatever. You know what's so stupid about this? I get shit for being the only one. No, it was me and Erock. We were the only two that went to Steve C's funeral. And I got a guy that's going to spin that because he didn't think enough of Steve C to pay his last respects to the guy, and now he's going to spin it and try to make it like it's a bad thing that I went there. And the fact is, oh God, don't get me going. Anthony forced me to do all this garbage, all this behind the scenes shit. I didn't fire. First of all, it's Steve C. I didn't fire Steve C. The company was moving on from Steve C. And I got, I had to do a lot of that tough garbage behind the scenes because, Anthony didn't want to deal with any of that. Anthony doesn't want to deal with anything. He goes, I don't know what the problem is. I come in and I'm funny. I'm like, yeah, but it's the Opie and Anthony show. There's so much other shit we have to do. Oh, I was having a good morning. I would have to do all these stupid meetings, and I know they were a waste of time. But when you're dealing with executives in a big corporation, this is the crap you have to do. So you have to sit there at a waste of a time meeting or go to lunch with these people just to stroke their stupid egos. And Anthony was nowhere to be found for just about all of them. Our agent would fly in from LA. He'd be waiting outside the studio. I have new kids at home. I want to just go home too, of course. And then Anthony would have one excuse after another. And there I am sitting with my agent in some dumb restaurant having breakfast in the middle of Manhattan when I want to be home with my family because someone had to do that. The nerve, the fucking nerve. You don't want to do any of that stuff behind the scenes. So don't spin that shit, you asshole. Hundreds and hundreds of hours behind the scenes that I had to deal with. Hundreds. When I wanted to be with my young family. What? I come in, I'm just funny. That's me. I'm like, yeah, good, but it's Opie and Anthony. You have to do all this other garbage. Honestly, he is the fucking worst. Gaslighting bullshit. He's just garbage. Has never taken responsibility for anything. Garbage. How do you spin it? Me and Erock, it was I don't even remember what day it was on. I think it was the weekend. We traveled pretty fucking far. We drove together because we thought it was the right thing to give our respects to Steve C, who worked really hard on the Opie and Anthony show, and then also was a friend to a lot of us. And no one else from the show could be bothered by that. And then the guy's going to turn around and try to spin that shit. Go F yourself. You're a terrible person, bro.
Would you rather have your nipple pinched or podcast with Anthony Cumia?
Ah, man. I would have to say that.
What?
The nipple thing.
Oh, okay. You had us on the edge of our seats.
So 2011, I guess we were starting to do the virus tour again at that point, probably. And we did a little pre-gaming. That I remember, wasn't that at the Pig Whistle or something like that? Is there a bar like that?
It was something pig. And yeah. I just remember you were throwing cherries at some ass, and I forgot.
That was cherry darts, my friend. One of the greatest Opie and Anthony bits of all time.
Yeah.
The beauty of Opie and Anthony, we would come up with the craziest stuff, and women would come out of the woodwork to participate. I'm like, let's throw cherries at girls as they're bent all the way over. And people would look at me like, who the hell is going to say yes to that? And sure enough, the phones, and they all marched into that studio to participate. I'll do a little Opie and Anthony today. So we did this thing called the homeless shopping spree. And the beauty of the homeless shopping spree was that we would recruit homeless people all year long. And that's a felony. What are you talking? Oh, taking my little milk thing. And then we'd go to malls and surprise these malls with our fan base. We couldn't even announce the mall because, after the first year, everyone was on to us. And then this is how fucking, I gotta say, this is how, popular the show was and how famous we were. It is really hard to promote anything nowadays and get people to show up. So back then, we did the homeless shopping spree. We would recruit the homeless people all year long, and they would be part of the radio show. And then, people, our fan base got to know them a little bit. And then it was time for the homeless shopping spree. We would get a really nice bus for them, and we would take off for a mall.
but we couldn't announce them all because we didn't want them to be on to us and have security and all that. And then at the last second, we would go, all right, we're going to be at the Short Hills Mall. And I'm not kidding you, man. We did not promote where the mall was going to be. And within 20 minutes, the mall was packed, not with a few dozen, hundreds of people, possibly close to 1,000 people following the homeless guys around as they shopped. It was absolutely insanity. And it was one of our huge benchmark bits. Huge. And then we got to, man, I don't know which radio executive ruined this. I forgot what radio exec, but they wanted to bring it back, right? I think this was after we got fired. So, you know, there's a couple year break in the action for the Opie and Anthony show. And then they're like, we want to bring the homeless shopping spree back. And I'm like, that'd be wonderful. You know, at this point, we could use the help to rebuild everything. But they're like, yeah, but we can't go to a mall. There's too many problems. We talked to the lawyers. And so then there was a radio executive that really thought that we could do the homeless shopping spree. It would be sponsored by, I'm trying to remember what company they suggested. Let's think like Lowe's or Home Depot or some weird place that's not even really a mall. And what we could do is the homeless people could come in and shop and it'll be sponsored. And, oh, yeah, here's the one thing. We can't have fans because they would be a liability. I'm like, man, you're proving why you're like a radio executive. How the hell would that work? So they ruined that bit, and that we had to say goodbye to that bit, along with many others.
GH,
Yes.
would you rather stub your toe
Ouch.
or podcast with Anthony Cumia?
Oh, that happens almost weekly.
Good morning, Opie. You should forgive Anthony and go on his podcast. Would be so epic. Stop being a bitch and go work out. Thanks, Jim D. Yeah, I have no desire to do that. The Anthony I knew, and I don't even know if I actually ever knew the guy. But the version of Anthony I thought I knew, I should say it that way, is long gone. So that's why that'll never, ever work. After Anthony left Sirius XM because, you know, he blew himself up, stop blaming me, blame him. Stop blaming me. In the end, Anthony blew up the Opie and Anthony show. It couldn't be more obvious. Maybe someday he'll take a little fucking responsibility. Who would play you in the movie? If you casted it, I guess. Also, who would play Anthony? Carl, Ron, Sam, Patrice, Jimmy, Al Dukes, Howard Stern. Good God. I think Andrea Mitchell would play Anthony. I cracked myself up, and that's the farthest I got. You know, obviously Don Rickles for Jim Norton, Brad Pitt for me, of course. You would get like a yam to play Sam.
Hey, Hope, I know we don't like to bring up the past, but there will never be gold like you with the crew every day in the studio again. Thank you for all those moments. No, I like bringing up the good shit. I like to talk. I would love to talk about more of the good shit, but the drama over the years has gotten so ridiculous. I want to get to a point where I think about Opie and Anthony and kind of have a smile on my face and go back to thinking about what we accomplished with that show. But, you know, you got an asshole that literally won't leave you alone and talks about you pretty much on a daily basis. It makes it really hard to think about the past fondly, if you want to know the truth. Dude, no, Johnny, I guarantee you, if you were my co-host, I would make something out of it. I think that's one of my strengths. I've proven over the years, before Anthony, during Anthony, after Anthony, that I could pretty much do this with anybody. That's why my new podcast is going to be called Opie and Anybody.
Finger in the Butt
Oh,
or podcast
God,
with Anthony Cumia.
you know all my triggers.
Is it recreational or for a medical purpose, though?
you'd say triggers, right?
Yes. It doesn't matter.
I hate
But no
that.
lube.
I hate that a lot. I would have to go with the finger.
Wow.
Did you hear Anthony's take on the Nopi videos? No, I did not. I literally don't listen or watch Anthony. I took a couple looks many years ago. I couldn't tell you what he's doing. And I think he's pure garbage for making fun of anything I do these days. He's pure garbage. Because I'm sure all I would have to do is watch his dumb show for an hour and I can rip it apart. But I chose a long time ago not to do that. But he's pure garbage for taking his dumb shots at me. I just want to get through something.
Sure.
And I know, and I said it because I thought it was cool. You apologized to me recently, about a month or two ago. You even said I don't need a response. And I really appreciate that. And I'll tell you what, when I met you through Jim Florentine, you couldn't have been nicer to me. You were so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And then I would see you here and there, and you were still incredibly cool to me, okay? But like a year or two ago, you started trashing me. I'm like, why is this guy trashing me? He was nothing but cool to me.
Yeah.
What was that about?
Early on, I went on Anthony's show, The Compound, and there was some buzz to it in the beginning before like already got there in Landau or whatever. So he was giving me opportunity. I released an album, went #1 on iTunes, and I got caught up in the nonsense. And
Right.
And I think the more I got to know Anthony, and when I saw people like kind of turning on me because I said Chrissy Mara wasn't funny, then he started doing it. I go, oh, this is who you are.
Right.
I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and I'll admit it. I never had anything against you, really. I honestly didn't.
Right.
It was more just it's the culture that Anthony creates.
100%. That's what I wanted to get into today, because it's like, I don't understand why he has to do that, because first of all, I don't suck. Second of all, I am funny. Third of all, I really know how to do this. And it seems like if you work for Anthony, you have to hate me. I'm like, why does it have to be that? That stupid Gino Bisconte did the same shit. But the difference is you realized that it was wrong and you apologized to me, and I accepted your apology. But Gino Bisconte was the same. I saw him here and there, and he couldn't have been cooler. I've hung out with the guy. He used to open for Jim Norton, and I think it was a Cleveland trip where we bonded and had a really, really good time. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, wait, now you're hating on me? What could I have possibly done to you except that you now work for Anthony and you feel like you have to what? Stick up for your boy? It was completely ridiculous. I don't understand why that has to be a thing with Anthony, because if you watch my shit, I got my own fan base. People aren't running over there and attacking Anthony or anything. We literally don't give a shit.
Yeah.
We just kind of wanted to be left alone, to be honest with you.
Honestly, this is the honest God truth. If you want to get in Anthony's good graces, all you have to say is something mean about you, and he'll payroll. He'll retweet you, have you on the show, and he's your best friend if he says anything remotely bad about you. And that's a fact. I see it on the other side because I watched him turn on me, and I was like, we had some fun shows. I mean, you know,
Right.
he's a talented guy without a doubt, but he's also like, he's very like, what's the word? Flaky.
I don't get why he has to do that, because in the end, like, I didn't really do anything to the guy. Get the hell out of here. We had an amazing run. We both have a lot of money. We had a lot of success, and we also wore each other out. And that's how it should just have ended.
Would you rather, GH, punch a starving baby in the face
Mama,
or podcast
why would you?
Do
with
it.
Anthony Cumia?
Don't do it. No, GH, no.
Yes. Don't podcast with that man.
This is like the baby Hitler question. This isn't fair.
You know, either way you answer this, it's going to be a big answer, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna have to. I think I gotta punch the baby.
Oh,
Oh,
I was hovering over my bell.
I would say in the next 2 years that there will be, hear me out. There will be new Opie and Anthony radio shows without me and without Anthony. It is going to happen because they could just the technology is sort of there already.
I don't know about all this smoke here in New York City. I had to go to the store earlier and thought I was going to faint.
Stupid Canadians. They need to keep their toxins in their own fucking country.
For real, man. What the fuck is going on with this decade? First we had the coronavirus, and now we got to deal with this shit.
It just sucks. All this woke bullshit, the fighting going on in the country, politics. You know, Opie, I don't ever see it going back to the way it was before. Ever.
You're absolutely right. We need a fucking time machine at this point.
I would love one of those. I'd go back and get unfired.
Opie doesn't appreciate the fans, just bans anything he doesn't like. What a baby. Anthony gets literally 10 times the viewers while playing Call of Duty. That's because he appreciates. Okay, thanks, Dale Digby. He says, I don't like Dale today, right? And he's saying I'm banning people, but he's able to make this comment actually after I put him in timeout. And this is just dumb. You're mad at me, so then you go the stupid Anthony route. I don't give a crap if he gets 100 times more viewers playing Call of Duty. Call of Duty. You watch that stuff because you enjoy hearing the N-word, you weirdo.
Why do you entertain the Anthony BS? It gets clicks, but you're better than that piece of wow. Well, that is a very good question. I left it alone for a very, very long time, and he was just chiseling away at a lot of nonsense. And then I finally was like, screw that, man. I'm going to fucking tell my side of the stupid story. Would you rather? No, now I'm asking myself.
Oh.
I'm asking myself the final question.
This isn't how this works.
I know, but you'll like this.
Can you text me the question?
No.
Oh.
Would you rather
Mm-hmm.
podcast with Anthony Cumia
No.
or podcast with the vegetables?
Ooh.
Spit it out, you bastard!
Hit the music, bitch. Vegetables over Anthony Cumia.
Oh, tremendous. Yes.